souls and beloveds. I hope this finds you well. So this will please all of my dance warriors who want to take a break, just like I do, from the weird stuff we've been going through. This video is going to be mostly about footwear and your feet. Some tips about how to take care of your feet too. Okay, so I started with ballet. I did not start with point. I started with, little baby ballerina shoes, and I do have mine somewhere, and I'm going to find them at some point. But I wanted to share with you some tips, tricks, things that I do to help me with my feet, because people have marveled at the fact that my feet, my toes, are in fairly good alignment. I do have a few broken toes, and they kind of hammer like this, and I have to actually like flatten them out and lengthen them. Otherwise, when I point, it looks like I'm going like this. And in some cases I am, but in some cases I just can't straighten them out. They're getting stronger, it's improving, but that's my little hurdle. We all have our little things that we have to overcome as dancers. And some of it's frustrating, some of it's not. People love my turnout, and it comes more natural to me, although I don't have like a perfect, turnout like this. It's like that. I have to really work at it, but that is a little bit more easier for me than having my 4 toes. My thumb toe, the big toe, it doesn't knuckle like hammer toe like my other 4, and it's not all of my toes either. So sometimes I see the photos and I'm like, oh, that looks terrible. It looks like Wilma Flintstone toes or something like that, and my toes turn up, my big toe turns up. They say it's really feminine, and I'm like, I don't like it. Anyhow, alright, so we're talking about feet. They're a dancer's tools. And for those of you who have disabilities and you can't necessarily use your feet, there are other parts of your body that you use instead in place of your feet. Anyone can dance, it's very true. Some have more skill than others. That also is true. But it's all valid. And I want to share with you, for those of you who, I've got like a whole bunch of questions what I do. And there's no right or wrong answer what to do with shoes, point shoes, or any shoes. You fool around with them until they work for you and until they're comfortable for you. So this is what I do, right or wrong. These, as you can tell, have been properly worn. At least this is my left foot. And I always mix up left and right. So what I started doing is just putting a line, a pen or a marker line, or some kind of indication for my left foot. Because until they're broken in, I always have a hard time figuring out left and right, and I don't want to break them in switching feet all the time, because then it throws me and my performance off balance, and my practice. Now these are practice ones. I've not performed in them, and I will not, because you can hear this. They're still hard, but to me I can hear the difference, and it's too soft. I have maybe 10 hours left in these shoes. Point shoes, are based on length of time left, performance time, hours, and like a car goes by mileage, the mileage for your feet in point shoes is hours on them, in them, and it can vary. Sometimes I'm harder on my feet when I'm working out versus when I'm dancing. It depends, if I'm more familiar with the piece, I won't be as hard or harsh on the shoes. But I like to keep my performance shoes and my practice shoes separate in most cases, not all, and I'll tell you why that is. Maybe this video, maybe not. Okay, so it's left. My left point is very much over, this is over the box. This is the box, right? And you want it at least be flat, at least. I tend to be a little bit over. And I don't know if you saw that video, it was the first time I put these on in a long time. And I went up on point, and I will concur, along with my little partner that was recording me, that my left was a bit over, and my right was also a bit over. Now look again. You guys see? Left, right. Do you see the difference here? This is less worn. This is more worn here. That's a good sign. And here even. I like that. That means I'm over my box. And you don't want to be extremely over, like you don't want to dance on this part. It's a little weird. And it's not aesthetically pleasing, but just a little bit over. It looks very, very nice, but at least flush. You can see here my right foot, a lot of broken toes and a lot of issues, and that is where I was last dancing. See, I'm even still working on that. But you can also see it was progressing forward last time I met these shoes before the accident. So what I want to try to tell you guys is, you know, how do you there's so much to say and I'm getting ahead of myself here. You want to make the shoes comfortable for yourself. And I do different things with different brands. I'm not going to display the name brand or promote the name brand because you know my issues with corporations, and I'm not saying that this corporation is giving me any trouble, but one rotten apple in the barrel ruined it for everybody, so no more freebies, unfortunately. You have to pay me. So I love promoting, and I wouldn't mind corporations making money off of me, meaning that they would have to reciprocate, pay me a little bit and not steal my stuff, you know. But anyway, watch the other videos for that explanation. I really don't want to go into it for this one. But when you're like working in your shoes, I wish I had a new pair. Okay, they come very, very hard, a lot of them, unless you get the brands and specify what, how, you know, you want hard or soft, or, you know, how long you want this, shank, all of this. And what I do to break mine in is several things. I file it down a little bit. You're not going to be able to see this, but I file it down a little in here so I can really get that flexibility to curve with my arch. I also break these in. I get along the corner of a wall and I just slightly, ever so slightly, crack them here and here. Now I'm warning you, if you do that, you are taking several hours off of your shoes. I like them a little bit more flexible because as I get older, like we all do, I just don't have the time anymore. And I really just want to do what I need to do with the least amount of pain. And, you know, it costs me more money because I have to buy these more frequently. But to me, it's worth it. So just be forewarned, if you crack this here, you're going to weaken your shoe. And some people don't like that. If you don't like that, then don't do it. I like it because I want to at least see that I'm doing well. I'm going to have to start not doing that because I'm going to have to start strengthening my feet again because of the accident and the injuries. I need to work harder. So if you're just beginning, you might just want to let yourself feel the pain a little more and really work your feet and work the shoe to death in a sense. So I'm going to have to do that too. And I'm probably not going to take a little shortcut to break them in. I am probably just going to deal with the pain in my feet and strengthen them again. It's for my own good in a sense. But these hurt no matter what you do. It's never going to be comfortable because whatever your body weight is, do the math on this because it's really interesting. That, and it's all being compressed. So the formula is your weight, and then the space, depending on the size of your toes, you can actually measure it. You know, the the width across your toes, and all of that compressed. And then if you do anything, you get up, you know, up and over your box, it's more weight compressed because you have a little bit of what? Momentum. And it hurts. So there's nothing you're going to do to make this comfortable. So as long as you're down for that, right? These little things, I never really use them. You got to be careful. I've been scolded for tucking them under, because what happens is on top of your toes and all of this, these little babies here will compress and push on here, and it can hurt and can damage your toes. So don't do as I do, do as I say. You can cut them off. It's nice if you want to get a tighter fit and you have the little bows, but look at this. You have these little bows, and what do you have on the side? These little things stick out, and I don't like that with the profile. Now this has a medium profile, meaning width, so when I go up, or any dancer goes up on point, that is what you're going to see. And aesthetically, we want it to be as narrow as possible. But as I get older, I'm like, forget it. I'm not going to ruin my feet over this. So I get something in between. So this is a medium width here on the profile. And I think it looks nice enough. And you can get them thicker, wider. You know, if you're just starting out, I recommend doing that because it doesn't hurt as much. But it's going to hurt. I'm warning you guys. Like I said, you can cut these off, and there are some now that have the elastic here. That's nice. It looks a little strange if you ask me, but you know, there's that option too. I've even cut this off myself and put my own elastic around the edge, which is like this. Now, all elastics are not created equal, people. This is very soft and very flexy, and I've broken it in so much that I use this elastic. I'm going to use it until it just completely unravels. I actually remove this and I put it on the next pair of shoes. For performance, I don't do that, but these are, like I said, these are my training shoes, working out in the studio or at home. And you know, you sew them here. Rule of thumb-ish. There again, you gotta do it. Makes your feet feel best. But rule of thumb, again, ish. They come folded like this. These are mangled, so please forgive. If I had a new pair, it'd be easier to show you. Right? So you want to fold them like that, and you know, rule of thumb is you put the end of the elastic here and here. As you can see, mine are a little bit over, and it straddles the back seam on the heel, and I put mine a lot closer. Why do I do that? Because I have a very sensitive part in my tendons, by the way my foot, my heel, and where the tendons, please forgive me, I'm trying to think of the word here, where my tendons are right under the ankle, and these are kind of high up on the ankle, so I try to alleviate the compression. So I scooted them in closer. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do to make your shoes look and work for you. But you don't want to put these elastics like here or some ungodly place that they shouldn't be. You need the support too. So my cheating it by doing that helps me a lot. And then you have your ribbon. Some manufacturers and makers have the ribbon already, like, the elastic already in them. I don't know if I've ever seen the ribbon in any, some starter shoes. I take that back, especially the demi-point ones. That means they don't have the box. You know, they're soft, they're flat, and you get up on demi-point, the ball of your foot, not the toe. And so some. But these are completely to my specifications, and, you know, sewing them, which is a nightmare now because I can't really see. Oh my gosh, I can't even really see this. But I sew everything in here You can kind of see right here, and that comes, for me, right before the seams here. And you know, you futz around with it until you get to know that particular brand. There's another brand I use too, and it'll fall in a slightly different place. But, you know, you play around with it, right? And this, I actually used and figured out how to use a sewing machine. So it's like, God is not going to pull this off. I mean, no one, this is not, it's not going to rip or tear. It's how strong it is. I did that on purpose because one time performing, it came undone because I did it by hand. And the same thing here. This is machine. And it worked really well for me. Where is, voila. Okay, so what is in the toe? So if you're a student of dance, you most likely, as you were going to school, hopefully, learned the history of dance. And you learned the history of what people used to do with their pointe shoes. And of course I had mentors and teachers who told me their stories too. And they used to use slabs of beef, filet mignon, I think. And they shoved them in the toe and they would dance because they're squishy. What we do for dance, come on people. Women, what we do for beauty too, right? Come on now. So I don't do that. Really, I eat meat because my body needs it. I'm that blood type, and if I wasn't that blood type, I don't think I could eat meat. It just grosses me out. It's just me. So I definitely can't dance on meat, but they used to do that, and I had a mentor that told me that they used to dance on point, and then there would be blood all over the stage because they used slabs of filet mignon. Ew. I don't, again, and I use little squishy things, which I can't get them out. They're in here pretty good, but they're little foamy things that I cut to shape to fit the shoe. And each manufacturer, each time my feet change, my feet have gotten bigger and then they've gotten smaller. Hormones, I have no idea why. They spread and then they shrunk, and I don't know. And then the toes broke. You do what you gotta do. Don't cheat yourself. Don't get the smaller shoes because you're going to end up getting hammer toes. And I have hammer toes for a different reason, but, you know, where the bunions and all this, be careful. And I can show you some tips that help save my feet. But my toes are pretty straight, except for, like how I said, the broken ones and the little hammer toe-y thing with some of them. You're not going to be able to see this, I don't think. But little foamy thing in here that I cut to shape. What else I do is, aren't these little drawstring bags great? This is what I do to put my little, you know, again with the words, I'm so tired. For my feet, you know, spacers and whatnot. I use these mesh bags because they breathe. You don't want to leave these in your pointe shoes. They will reek. Oh, Lord, I have not only had students, but fellow students. You know, my own students and then fellow students when I was a student in class. Students as a teacher. Am I making this clear? Oh, Lord, help me today. I love these things. So instead of slabs of meat, like I said, I cut little foam rubbery things. They're about maybe about 1/4 of an inch. I like to feel the floor, but I don't like to feel it that much. Because when I do certain things, I use my pointe shoes in a contemporary way too, not just classically, but I like to use them as a means of catapulting. And it's fun. It's a very modern, interpretive, dancey thing. Okay, excuse me, these things need to be washed. They're so thrashed. And these, they offer a little bit more support. I use these mostly though to protect the top part of my foot, because see, look, when they go in here, right? Come on now. How unsightly is that? Neon green and aqua blue with these. I don't use these when I perform. Slip them in here. It gives you a little bit more comfort and protection between this hard shell here and the top part of your feet. As I get older, they get more sensitive, so that helps me tremendously. So you guys get your little pads. I'm not going to reveal the name, but you know, try a whole bunch. I had to try a whole bunch before I found ones that I really liked. Now these, I love these little jellies. Aren't they great? They feel kind of disgusting. They feel like hardened rubber snot. Please excuse me, but that's what it feels like. How would I know? I taught little kids. I know a lot about little snot balls. Okay, so raw, real, and censored, guys, please. I'm pretty down to earth. But you put these in between your toes like so. So pretend these are my feet. I'm not putting my feet up on the screen, right? But pretend this is my big toe. So I put this one as these are spacers between my big toe. And then I put this one here on the side. This helps prevent bunions for me anyway. See what works for you. And then I put one here right on the knuckle and the joint of the big toe. Why do I do that? Like I said, you know, as my feet get older, they get more sensitive, and they also get tougher too in another way. It's really interesting. But it helps because this is very hard, and I want to be as comfortable as possible without making it too comfortable, because I want to feel the floor. Because for me, some people don't care if they feel the floor. They're like, I'm going to be as comfortable as possible, but I need to feel the floor a little bit because I can't explain it. It's my preference. I feel more grounded. I feel like I can take off, you know, when I do my little leaps, jetés, whatever I'm doing, I feel like I can work the floor better. And if you don't have that good relationship with my mentors, when I was, you know, going for my degree, would say, you know, a good dancer will have a really good relationship between him or herself and the floor. And you can always tell. And I see how I progressed, and I see how my relationship with myself, my feet, and the floor has progressed and gotten better. And sometimes we have fights on stage, and you can see it. It's like, not happening today. So, yeah, just a couple little things that I do. But I really like these spacers, you guys. When you're practicing, oh, they can save your feet. I used to put my feet like this. This is something I learned when I was little. And I would interlock them, and I would also take my fingers and space them after I had worked out, because I didn't want my toes crossing like this. You gotta look at a lot of, especially those who do point, look at their feet. They're gnarly. I am very fortunate. I was taught how to take care of my feet, and I was not doing point for many years, and I waited, I think, an appropriate time, because if you get up on point too young, you can, you know, stunt the growth of your feet. And I think I did a little bit. I told you the story how I made my own point shoes with socks. I think I used slippers and my dad's leftover cut pieces of wood, because he was a carpenter and a builder, a developer, and all that. And I would use soutache lace, whatever I could find, and wrap it around. And it's probably not very safe, and I don't recommend it, but that was just me. We couldn't afford point shoes, and I was just, hey, I'm doing this. So ballet was my beginning. It was definitely not my end, and I have always had a love-hate relationship with the art form. You can never perfect it as far as I'm concerned, and it's very frustrating, hence the love-hate thing. Now, if you read my book, which one is it? I think it's in this one, Red Ribbons. And not only does this talk about where the red ribbons thing came from, and I won't get into that, but it also talks about when I first saw the red shoes. Who hasn't seen that? Who hasn't been inspired? Most little girls saw that and say, I want to dance, you know. Well, that was my beginning too, and it was my grandmother's fault in a good way. And she always wanted to get me a pair of red point shoes, and that never happened. But she did get me a pair of red demi point. Again, this is demi point soft shoe. See, nothing hard here. Totally different, right? And I used them in high school when I was on dance team doing something. I don't remember now. Going back quite a way. But yeah. And so my husband remembered that I said that, and he did a great little surprise for me. And he took an old pair of my point shoes. See, this I think has a slightly lower profile than these. And these are thrashed. you can't dance in these. This box, if I were to put these on, you could like sink in them and my skin spills out. I only use these to perform very briefly and on very, 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 very special occasions. And look, these were when I just got back to dancing after my cancer. Do you see where they were worn out? Not good. I was not that good when after the cancer treatment. It had been a while for me. So you can see the difference. See, much better. Anyway, but these we hang on our studio wall. Sometimes they're at home, depending. And yeah, my husband dyed them, and he didn't realize that you're not supposed to submerge them completely in the water, because what happens is that they shrink. They shrink, and they did, but I stretched them out again. If that ever happens to you, or like me, I actually put my point shoes on the back, the tank of a toilet bowl, and one of them fell into the toilet. Remember that?
Yeah.
And one fell into the toilet bowl, and one shrunk, and I'm like, that's not good. So I had to stretch it out. But you can get, regular shoe stretchers. You put them in the shoes. They're supposed to be for leather shoes. You stretch them out a little bit, but it'll work. And so I had to stretch them out. These are very expensive shoes. I pay an average between $75 and sometimes $110. You can get them a lot cheaper. You can get them for about $40, I think, on the cheap end, and a couple $100. Really good ones, Anyway, so these are just nice mementos, and my husband didn't realize, completely submerged them. But look at the color came out very, very rich. I said, how did you get it so rich? I'm not going to give away the secret. You have to write us in for that. Write me and I'll tell you how we got it. He got it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. So, it doesn't quite match my hair. These are like ruby, very flame red to the 10th degree. My hair might be around the 7th or 8th degree. Pretty impressive. But that's why this the insides here, everything is red, because that. Traditionally what you do is you get a sponge or a cotton ball and you dab it, but you run the risk of it being spotty and you can't get it as intense, and it could be a problem. But anyway, I love these, and I've worn them a couple times for a performance here and there, and I know I run the risk of having severely hurting feet because there's no support in these, and I have to work even harder. At some point I'm gonna have to just do another pair and just play around with it and see what I can do. But I love these, and I want to just keep them because they